Well, hello everyone. This is Toni Weel, and of course we have Sara from Virtuous Unicorns with us, and we are still waiting for Tom, who was gonna join us as a special guest, talking about all these misconceptions with healing. And we came to the conclusion that it was actually a pretty interesting part because it's misconceptions anywhere and everywhere. It's I started making a list, and in a few minutes I got from what people think about sun, cancer, diabetes, autoimmune, depleted soil, nightshade plants, what actually is a placebo effect, and I think we can come up with a lot and a lot more. And once you are aware of it, things start changing around you when you learn all this stuff. So what are we going to do, Sara? We wait a little till Tom is coming on. Oh, maybe just you were sharing with me the sun story. I think that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, so as some of you know, I was out last week for we went on vacation. And so we went up into northern Michigan, and anyone that has not been there, please go. I mean, it is beyond beautiful, and I believe time stands still there. I mean, it was just, I feel like I've been gone for a month at least. And we got to see both Lake Michigan and Lake Superior, which they look like the ocean to me. They're so beautiful. The only thing that was missing was the smell of salt, but we were even on some beautiful beaches and saw, I mean, just all kinds of stuff. So definitely go. But what I was explaining to Toni is we were, I mean, definitely some days we were in 8-9 miles that we were walking. We were outside. We were most of the time in full sun, I would say, because we were just kind of out in the open exploring around little towns and stuff. But I got no sun at all. Like, I am the same as that color of when I left. And we were out inside, we were just exposed to the sun constantly, it felt like. And even my husband is the same exact way too. We have no tan lines. Everything looks exactly the same. And, you know, we've been on orange juice. This is our second year now. We're still doing the juicing, but we're not on a full juice fast. We both start our mornings out with orange juice. And I would say it even runs into lunchtime too. We do try to span that out. So we've been on this orange juice journey, and my mind's just completely blown by it. I think it's very fascinating and very interesting that, you know, on one hand, I want to be a little bit darker because, you know, I want to have a nice little summer tan. But on the other hand, it's just very interesting on how my body, and even my husband's body, who still takes in meat, he has what he calls meat days. And his body is even doing well on that. I mean, we're both just very surprised.
Yeah, isn't it interesting that we always wanted to have a tan? I don't really know why. It's like it was the idea of looking healthy. I know, especially in the Netherlands, every little bit of sun, people were out there sunbathing and slathered on all the sunscreens, of course, to not get sunburn, but get at least somewhat of a tan. And it's yeah, and even when you mention it, I never give it a second thought. I'm light skinned. I'm a redhead. I have freckles, but I have a little tan, and I realize I'm not tanning at all anymore. And the same goes for my husband. He's like, out in the sun so much. Where is my tan? And it's like we need to get rid of that whole idea that we need to have a tan to be healthy, because it's not healthy. You're baking your skin. You're baking your body. You often get overheated. And I mentioned I was actually 2-3 hours in the sun last week, and I started to feel uncomfortable. That was my body telling me enough is enough. And I needed to get into some cold air to feel better again. But the idea about the sunbathing and using the what do you call that, the sunscreen with high, I forgot what the word for it is.
SPF.
SPF. Okay. And this is where we get all the ideas of you get cancer from the sun. And No.
No, and we
But
don't use anything. Like I don't use lotion. I don't use nothing. And it was so funny that even then, like I ended up buying a hat. I don't wear sunglasses either, but I ended up buying a hat just because one, I thought it was really cute. And then, but it's just a regular ball cap. It wasn't like one of the big giant caps, but I never even ended up wearing that either. And I was thinking to myself, like, I've been in the sun days now on end, and maybe I should, and, so it was like a two-part, but I actually never even end up wearing a hat either. But maybe Florida sun might be different. I mean, I'm definitely, next time I make it down to Florida, I'm going to do my little experiment again, see how much sun I get down there. But I've been there in the past years, and my whole family doesn't wear SPF. My son, my husband, nobody. So we don't use suntan lotion either. Nothing, just
no, I don't know why, but I never used sun lotion. Never used a sunscreen. I don't know why it is. I just thought it was nonsense. It's
I use.
like, and I did, most of you know, I did motorcycle tours. I guided motorcycle tours, so I was out in the sun a lot, and easily 8 hours in a day. But I did wear like a white shirt, long sleeve shirt, and that was it. And yeah, I got my time that I got sunburned, but I was on a different diet than I have now.
Yeah.
So
Always not sunscreen, but suntan lotion, just to try to get the more golden brown color. And to tell you the truth, what was even more crazy why I like to use it is I used to love the smell. Just to this day, like Coppertone will remind me of summers, like in the 80s and 90s.
yeah, we are nicely programmed.
Yes, we are.
That's all I can think about. We have an association with a certain smell. So yeah, I can see what you mean.
The nostalgia. Yep. Well, it looks like Seth has joined us. Hi, Seth. How are you?
Well, it is actually it is Tom
Oh, hi,
Braddick.
Tom. It says Seth on there. I
Tom
apologize.
joined us, and when I asked him, like, okay, what are we going to talk about? Because I often see Tom's post on his Facebook page, and they always spot on. And I was thinking, yeah, what topic shall we do? And it was clear very fast, and talking about all the misconceptions. And there are many. And his first thing was about cancer, and can we actually talk about, what is cancer? And you hear all the stories about it is what is it? It is spreading, and so many things. So yes, we have to stay within certain guidelines. Otherwise, I can lose the channel, or I definitely lose the video. But we can always put it up somewhere else. It actually happened with another video we did, Sarah, where we talked about kids and health. That one was removed from YouTube.
Mhm.
But okay, I think you're still there, Tom. I don't see you.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
great. Yeah, we can hear you.
I don't see anything.
Yeah. I'll let you introduce yourself a little, and I think you have a. This is funny. You mentioned the backdrop, and now I see what it is. It is a watermelon.
A chef friend of mine gave it to me, so it was funny.
Yeah, seeded watermelon. That's good.
Can y'all hear me today?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Well, good. My name is Tom. I've been dabbling around in this for about 8 years now. It just piqued my interest from 10, 15 years of dealing with pain, from typically like tennis elbow, just I mean, it's acidosis for the most part, but I couldn't figure out what it was. And as I started to kind of grow in this, and finally found Dr. Morse, which is again, I give him kudos. Trust me, I couldn't tell you how many people I get, listen to this doctor, listen to this doctor, listen to this CB, and all these different doctors, and I've really learned to use my discernment, and my intuition to kind of guide me, on who knows what they're talking about, and if you think about it, it's like talking to a doctor. When you talk to a doctor, they talk this, big words, and they use this, deep thought, and honestly, they're confused. They're just talking, you know, just it doesn't make sense when they talk to you. You're just like, okay, I trust you because you're a doctor and you're trained and versed at this, but what you're telling me doesn't make sense. You're not telling them this, but this is what you're thinking, because I can't understand what you're telling me. So when you start listening to people that are true, and they are coming from the heart, and they're teaching you truth, it just like, I mean, it just hits you like a I'm getting kicked by a donkey. It makes sense, and that now that I've been doing this for so long now, it almost becomes second nature to me. So when I hear people talk, I just missed 11:11. When I hear people talk, um it like I know when they're telling me the truth, and I know when they don't understand what they're saying, because it to me, it comes at me, but it's not like me. It's like the spirit inside of me is discerning it for me, and then I just say, okay, 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 this is wrong, this is right, this is wrong, this is right, and it's more dangerous that way, because a little knowledge is dangerous, because it's like being an electrician, but you're not fully skilled and experienced at it, so you start thinking you know what you're doing, and next thing you know, you're dead. The same thing when it comes to this kind of stuff that we're dealing with. Is health is very important, and for somebody to be on the wrong track, it could really be detrimental. You're oh, I think I know, a doctor told me this or this or that, so I'm gonna start doing this, and then they come to find out a while later that everything they've done is done, giving them the opposite reaction. And they're thinking, well, I did everything I done. Well, maybe this stuff is no good. But anyways, I'm kind of going off base here. But point being is that you have to have discernment when it comes to your health. I mean, you need to muscle test stuff. You need to really get in and understand. If you want to understand herbs, really want to understand chemistry, and don't pay attention to um, the whole thing of well, just take 2 teaspoons of this and take two, and to cut these up, and then boil it for 5 minutes, and then you drink it. And it's like, yeah, there's some benefit to it, but when you have to think how to be healthy, you're on the wrong page. I mean, it's as simple as picking something up and eating it, washing it first, but then eating it. That's it. When they start telling you micro calories and macro and all these different things, you got to count it and make sure you do this, and just do this much and this much and this much. That should tell you right there. It should be like an alarm going off in your head that something's wrong here. Why do I have to think? Why do I have to try to focus and concentrate on what I need to eat when it's simple? Go outside into your fruit garden and your trees, and just pick fruit, eat it. Pick fruit, eat it. You can eat as much as you want all day long. First thing in the morning, a minute before you go to bed. There's all benefit to it. There's nothing that you can never even overeat fruit. You just go to the restroom for the most part. But anyways, just to kind of give a little beginning of our little topic today for the most part. But any comments on that?
No, I agree with that 100%. And I apologize earlier, Tom. I saw Seth come up when you logged in, so I do apologize.
That was that's who I have as my, it kind of tricked me too. I thought my son was in here.
That's funny.
He knows about it, but okay.
Yep.
I need
Anyway.
to change that.
Yeah, so I apologize about that, but welcome. And no, I 100% agree with that. I mean, it's about simplicity. The moment somebody starts talking about too much detail, too much information, and micros and macros, and I'm just like, well, never mind. My brain already shut off already. And that's something I think that's why it never stuck with any of us, is because we already knew, like you talked before, intuition wise, that is the way it is supposed to be for us, just natural and go with the flow. I always said this is the greatest way of living for a lazy person, because you just don't have to think about it. You just
I
eat.
concur.
And we've all been down that road too, where we've been following somebody else, doing everything they've said. I'm not going to mention any details about stuff, but when you're drinking this one thing every single day and you're thinking you're doing the best to get all the different salts and stuff, and yeah, it feels great at first because you were just so dehydrated when you first started, but then you start seeing all the downfalls of it. And I think that's the same thing with anything like Atkins or keto and things like that. Of course, you're going to see stuff great in the beginning, but then it's going to start making your body fall apart because it's not alive. But yes, so I believe I'm speaking for Toni too, but 100% agree with simplicity of this whole thing.
Yeah, it's always about the simplicity, but the thing is, what we now see as completely natural, what you say, Tom, it's like, all you need to eat is that you grab it, you clean it off and you eat it. And oftentimes what I get out of my own yard, I don't even clean. But
That's fine.
we have been taught completely the opposite of everything. And now it is, I feel that is the way that we are living. There is very, very little extra learning. It is good to know how does the body work, and learning to listen to your body, learning to trust your intuition, and we all have it, and we all try to reason with our own intuition and then make the wrong choice. And once we learn to trust it, everything becomes easier. But the difficult part with this lifestyle and with healing is the unlearning of everything that you have been taught and trusted because you grew up with it. And even as a child, I mean, the times that I had been sick, very sick, and mom didn't know what to do, I couldn't wait to be at the doctor because he knew it. He would fix it. And that is not the case. I mean, you go to a doctor, they type something in, they type a symptom in a computer nowadays. Nowadays, that's how it works. And all it does is show a whole bunch of prescription drugs, and there you go. Take a pill, you're better tomorrow. Well, we know now it's actually making everything worse. There has never been a pill that healed anything. And we talk about this a lot too with what we are doing as a counselor, is that there are no magic pills. It takes time. But it is the whole difficult part, I think, is more the unlearning than the learning about, how does your body work. And but there are so many misconceptions that we were fed over the years. And it doesn't matter if it goes into salt or sugar or cancer. Sugar feeds cancer, sugar feeds candida. And people heard something and they keep repeating it. And that too works as a ripple effect, because now everyone is repeating it. You won't believe how often I hear that, even in a group with 41,000 and even more people, of which there are actually 20,000 people active, which is pretty significant. I still hear the same thing. And it's like, how do we get rid of all these misconceptions? Because it's I don't want to say it's annoying, but it's the reteaching. It is the telling them what is cancer, what is diabetes, how can you heal diabetes? Oh, but my doctor says I cannot eat any fruit because it will get worse, and then I need insulin. And I'm like, okay.
Oh my God, yeah, I concur. What I like to do is, I listen to people, and I want to hear what people know, and by any means, and I am not claiming to be a doctor. I don't do nothing to do with that. I don't try, all I do is I speak from what I've learned, and I speak from what makes sense, and I speak from what has helped me, And when it comes to cancer, I always tell people, I said, look, and I've told people, I've had friends that I've, known for say 3 years, just acquaintances, and they know me. They know my opinions, and then they'll come back to me and they'll explain something else talking about cancer. It's like, oh, well, they got cancer, and it's the sugar that does it. And the one that got me was when I saw a post and somebody was like, they were half right, and they said, well, cancer feeds on acid. And then they said that we have to alkalize ourselves, to eliminate it. Okay. Now that's frustrating because to be 50% right only means that you're 50% wrong, and I'd rather be 97% right, and, odds are better. But when you talk about cancer, I want to just tell people that, look, if you want to understand, I want you to understand it so that you know how to deal with it. The term cancer only means damaged cells. That's it. It's not a real thing. It's like, you see something outside and you give it a name. You don't want, you might not necessarily understand it, but you're just giving it a name because you have no understanding of how it works, how it started, how to get rid of it, etc. But when they say cancer and disease, dis-easement or out of, balance, cancer, there's nothing that cancer feeds on. Cancer doesn't feed on anything because something dead can't feed on something because it's dead. It just means cancer means an environment that causes damage to normal living cells. So cancer would be a pot of acid that you stick your hand into and hold it there as long as you can. You're going to create what doctors call cancer. You're not making cancer cells. You're killing normal cells. And the death of a normal cell is what doctors call cancer. So sugar has nothing to do with cancer. Acid is our antagonist. The acid that we create by consuming foods that are non-human species foods will cause our body to create hydrochloric acid. And the hydrochloric acid is not necessary, but it's something that our body does when we find ourselves in a situation where we are having trouble digesting something. So the body will create cancer acids. Now the acids come with another whole process that the body has to do, which is it's going to start tending to trigger inflammation, and then it starts to trigger mucus. And the mucus, our lymph mucus, is what actually protects us from what's getting ready to happen. So it's like if you had like my room, if I knew this room was getting ready to be filled with acid, I'd go get my, I'm a handyman type person. So I get my paint roller and I get in some mucus and I just start rolling all over the walls everywhere. I put mucus everywhere so that I can protect local tissue around the room. I don't want to damage anything. So once the acid leaves, then I'll clean the mucus off and I'll eliminate it, and the way to stop this process of constant mucus after you eat a meal and you just like instantly start to create mucus, it's telling you, I don't want that, what you just ate. Because if it takes mucus, if your body creates mucus after you eat a meal, that is not conducive to what human species need to eat. Because you eat fruit. Now, the one thing I'll say is if you want to have a healing crisis is, and I've done it, I did it a month ago or so, is I hit fruit. I must have gone for almost a week, of just fruit. And if people know me, I'm on the road a lot with clients and I'll stop at HEB, grab a family pack of watermelon and I'll go I might get some, for my crunchies, I'll get some plantain chips and some guacamole and some hummus or whatnot. But it's always pack of fruit. And I'll buy the little, we talked the last time about those, the orange and the lemon and the pineapple, and they make the juices, the cold pressed juices. And I'll do those too. But getting back to it, it's like, again, you want to listen to me. Cancer has nothing to do with sugar, nothing to do with any of these things. They call it like a cancer is a cannibal, and it goes around and it converts other cells into cancer. And that's not how it works. Cancer, literally, cancer means that my body has become acidic and I'm not eliminating my lymphatic waste after my body created it to protect me from the acid. So as you start to get constipation, interstitial constipation, now the acids are, pretty much stuck in traffic, and you're under the hot sun. And then, for the most part, that's what's going to start. It's going to start damaging you because you're stuck. You're moving very slow through this. And if you notice, carnivores, if you look at the anatomy of a carnivore, they have smooth digestive tracts. Ours are like ribbed and undulation. The muscles undulation push it through, but they're ribbed and longer. Probably 15 times longer. But the big cats, they have spiked tongues, or their tongues are very rough, which is a carnivore. And their digestive tracts are very smooth and very short to get it in and get it out, and people are like, well, humans are more close to a carnivore, anatomy wise. And I'm thinking, I can't point to one thing that we have. I mean, typically we're not covered with fur. We don't have claws. We don't have, teeth that are designed to shear meat off the bone and even crush bone. I mean, we have long digestive tracts. We have undulated and ribbed digestive tracts. We digest in the mouth. We start to break down stuff, salivary, in the mouth. And if you notice with any kind of carnivore, give them, even a dog, he's an omnivore, but he can handle it. Give a dog a treat, even a cat, give them a piece of tuna or a piece of meat and watch them not chew it. They're just gonna swallow it down. I mean, eagles. Look at any kind of carnivore. You give them the fit, they just swallow it down. They don't even chew anything because digestion for them starts in the stomach. But we're so different, from any kind of carnivore. We're not even on the same page. But again, with cancer, sugar, when you're consuming sugar, sugar, we want mono sugar. We want sugar that's carbon. And when doctors get that all confused, they consider sugar to be everything that has sugar. I'm surprised they don't, claim that a muffin, a blueberry muffin, for the most part, they consider that the same sugar as fruit. But we need mono sugar. We need in its most simplistic form. You start looking at diet wise, like when I'm looking at things, I'm thinking of what can I eat that I'll digest immediately. I need some energy. And the last thing I think of is caffeine. That actually stimulates your adrenals and causes all kinds of ruckus there. But I'm looking for something that's going to give me dynamic energy, quick digestion, and I can eat as much as I want. I mean, literally, I used to always tell people, if there was such a diet where you can eat as much as you want and still have benefit to it. And look at me now, it's exactly where we are now. Doesn't matter. Eat as much fruit as you want. All you're going to do is just get kind of like, oh, I can drink a lot of water. You get that kind of feeling, but it digests so quickly. And for people to sit here and eat, your red meats and your compound starches, these are where the problems start coming, which I always told people before, when you're looking at like vegans, when I say vegan can be so vague. I mean, I'm talking about the people that just don't eat meat, the ones that are kind of like, they look like they're yellow, like they got jaundice. And that's where they give us a bad name, because we're not that. We are frugivores. You want to call it fruitarian, whatever you want to call it. But these are the people that still eat potatoes and all types of starches, heavy on corn. Just because it's not an animal doesn't mean that it's good for you. We got to stay away from compound sugars. For instance, meat, we need We need to get the amino acids. That's what we need, the aminos. But you can still, you get amino acids from fruit. But when you're looking at meat, meat is a compound amino. We just want an amino. The same thing with sugar. Sugar is a carbon. It's a carbohydrate. But when you're doing starches, potatoes, and things of that, breads and things of that nature, now you're dealing with compound carbohydrates. That's the difference. Is we need simplicity of sugar. And to hear a doctor, somebody that's been trained for, I don't know, 8 years of med school, and they don't know the difference between a simple sugar and a compound sugar, but the process again, consumption of it breaks down to polypeptides, then breaks down to branched chain amino acids. That's what we want, because those are the constituents or the precursor to the building blocks of protein. So you don't get protein from meat, you get the aminos. But in this idea, you're doing it in an acidic environment. So you can have meat or your starches, and it's going to take hours, 20 plus hours to digest it. So now your body is sitting here working its tail off, and it needs all hands on deck. So when you're involved in trying to, heal the body and rebuild the body, and other ones are involved in trying to feed the body and bringing waste back, all that is stopped. It's all digestion, which is why everything you've lost regeneration, you've lost repairing, you've lost rest, all these things overnight while your body sitting here using every cell it has to digest, and that in itself is when people can sleep 8 hours and wake up and say, oh my God, I'm exhausted. You are exhausted because about 100 trillion, cells are sitting there all involved in trying to save you from disaster. And on top of that, your body is sitting here, your chemistry is sitting here looking for bicarbonates to help neutralize the acids. So now it's kind of stealing from, your glands. Let me take some calcium from there. Oh, your arteries and veins. Let me take calcium from that. Oh, your organs. Oh, let's take some calcium. Bones. Let's take calcium. So you're literally ripping away calcium that's vital for the organs, bones, glands to do their job. That's, parathyroid. Rip away the parathyroid, calcium it can no longer utilize calcium. So now you're going to have all kinds of problems, mainly depression that you can't describe where it came from. Thyroid, now women are going to have hot flashes. Hot flashes are literally the body is trying to heat up to make you sweat. And it's in the middle of the night, or it could be in an uncomfortable place, or wherever it is, you just break out in this, I know so many people that are just, oh my God. It literally drives them crazy. But I tell them, look, your body's only doing what it has to do. Your body's not malfunctioning. Your body is actually doing what it needs to do to eliminate what is under your largest eliminative organ. So if you're not going to filter it out through your kidneys via the urine and bowels, then it's going to go through your third kidney, your skin. And so when you have these weird things happen to you, diarrhea, vomiting, coughing, sneezing, fever, sound like a commercial, that means that the body is only doing that because it needs to do that. You're not malfunctioning. You don't need to go to the store and get a drug and take that drug and stop what the body's doing. The body will only do what the body needs to do to heal itself. So if it needs to vomit, then it's trying to get something out that you ate. If it's diarrhea, it's trying to get something out that you ate. If your fever, the body's trying to sweat. If it's going to be coughing, the body's trying to clear out. If it's sneezing, the body's trying to clear out. So all of these things are necessary. They should not be, creating fear because you have detox symptoms. excuse me. I was eating a coconut earlier, and it was taking me 10 minutes just to eat it, so I had to just kind of put it in a cup. But in essence, don't fear what your body's trying to do. God made your body perfect, and the body, even though we are imperfect and we have genetics that are all over the freaking place, the body will only do what it needs to do. The same thing when women start falling into heavy bleeding. I mean, they have that bleeding formula, but when the body bleeds like that, or when they go through their cycles, or even like more than cycles, it happens more often than not. The body is trying to eliminate the blood that still has a lot of cellular waste in it, because you're either somebody's taken something and they've wiped out their bacterium and all their lymph nodes. In that case, if the body can't do it via urine and bowels, and it can't really do it via sweat, then the body typically women will force a women to have very heavy menstrual cycles. But it's the same thing. It's only doing what it needs to do. And that's why women will have these ones, and they're very rough. I mean, consistency is rough because the body cannot eliminate it any other way. You're not sweating, you're not eliminating urine, you're not eliminating bowels, you've wiped out all your lymph nodes, you're on constant antibiotic. I have clients that I don't even say anything to them anymore, but I had another UTI, and I'm thinking, there's no such thing as UTI. Your body is just acidic. It's simple as when you consume something, the body, the blood's going to go through the spleen, filter out the blood. Then it goes through the lymphatic river into all the lymph nodes, hundreds of them, and they break that pH from 3 pH to 6 pH. Now the body's able to send it to the kidneys and allow the kidneys to filter out the rest of the lymphatic waste from the blood and eliminate it urine and bowels. But when these people are taking these antibiotics, they're wiping out their lymph nodes. And the lymph nodes are what break down solid waste. Same thing with the septic tank in your house in the country. It breaks down solid waste. And when you eliminate that, now you're going to have issues. And getting on to, like, a lot of people now I'm also seeing is lymph is when they have their tonsils pulled out. And I've heard some people have infected, what they want to call infected, but the tonsils are just acidic. And literally the tonsils have burned themselves away and just pretty much eliminate themselves, or the doctors come in and pull them out. These are the people that are suffering from, I can't smell food, I can't taste anything anymore, I don't know where the taste go. Oh my God, and it can be emotional, because taste, a sensory of food, the smell, foods, and to taste foods can drive you crazy for the most part. But you can get past that. Since you've lost your tonsils, which are filters that help drain the face. So you'll notice that people without tonsils, their face tends to get more round because of the lymphatic pressure in the face. But you have to hit it hard. And I mean, fruit. Try to block out as much as you can, cheat as you want, but you have to do the fruit, because you're missing vital glands that are needed to drain the head and the face. And if you don't drain the head and the face from lymphatic waste, which contains acids, you're going to affect pituitary, pineal, hypothalamus, thyroid, parathyroid, all these things. And people are getting TMJ, acid, ear infections, acid, all these things is lymphatic waste in the head, even glaucoma, all these things are caused pretty much by mucus in the head. Get into lymphatic massages to help yourself. But the idea is if you want to avoid what doctors call cancer, you have to stop putting in your body things that trigger that episode to happen, and add things that help to eliminate it. So I tell people, it's like, look, there's two things you can do. Okay. You can stop eating things or avoid as much as possible things that trigger these episodes. And you can also start eating things that help the body hydrate interstitially and clean itself. Okay. If you really want to do good, do both. That's, I always consider it as, when somebody loves to work out, but they eat like crap. This is when you make a lot of money, spend a lot of money. And there's people that don't like to work out, but they enjoy eating. So you got, don't like to work out, but they watch what they eat. And that's another thing, the same thing. You make a lot of money, you spend a lot of money. But when somebody is able to work out and manage their diet, now you make a lot of money and you save a lot of money. And it's just the way it works. So in simplest forms, if you want to avoid what doctors call cancer, then you have to avoid foods that trigger the body to create acid, and then inflammation, and then mucus. And if you're going to do that lifestyle, then you have to make sure that your body eliminates it constantly, every day. Bowel movements. I mean, you'll notice that sometimes you'll go on fruit and your body will you'll have like 5 or 6 bowel movement. You're like, oh my God, that's like a Thanksgiving dinner, because it's eliminating stuff that's in your bowels that have been there for months, if not even years, So that's my point in it, is I want people to understand, if I could just leave them with this, is that cancer is not a thing. Cancer is an environment. Cancer is it's when the body is excessively acidic, and it's trying to help itself, or I should say, the environment's acidic, and in that case, all the 100 trillion plus cells are in trouble. I mean, because now you've created an acidic environment. It's like in Texas, getting everybody to go outside at 3 o'clock in the summertime. That is what you'd call an acidic environment. And what does it do to the people? It burns them. You feel freaking horrible. Your skin is burning. I mean, literally, you're trying to get out of the sun. And it's that same thing. So when you're doing fruit, then the body is hydrated interstitially. The body is self-cleaning itself, because now the fruit is going through everywhere, and it's creating, in some cases, a what do they call it? When you go through that health crisis, which is meaning that you've triggered the body to start eliminating. And sometimes it'll eliminate really good, and it'll scare you sometimes. And that's why a lot of times people get that healing crisis, and they'll panic, and they'll think that, oh my God, I'm not going to do fruit anymore, because it caused me to feel sick, and it caused me I was like just, coughing and sneezing, and I felt bad, and my throat hurt, and all these things are going on. But they don't realize that is what your goal is. Well, your goal is to get your bowels and your urine to eliminate most of this waste. But if you can't, then the body is going to trigger it in whichever way it can to get these acids out of your body. So a healing crisis might be something that feels like a cold or a flu, but it's necessary. It's necessary to clean out the body like a spring clean, And that's what I think people fear. They'll say, well, I ate fruit, and I just feel all bloated, and it made me bloated. No, you ate something else first that's going to take about 20 hours to digest. And then you ate fruit that takes 15 to 20 minutes. So now that fruit is just starting to ferment right behind that, whatever it is that's in front of it. So that fruit's breaking down before it goes to the restroom. So it's like you're outside waiting for somebody to get out of the restroom, and the body just start defecate on yourself, But in essence, in a simplistic way of saying it, when you hear cancer, think, okay, it's a made up word. It just means that the cells are being damaged. There's no boogeyman going around and breaking down, or I should say, and converting cells into cancer cells. If you have what doctors call cancer, which I call interstitial acidosis, then it is everywhere from head to foot. It's circulating through your blood. It's everywhere. It just shows itself in the weakest genetic areas. Breast, you get the lymph node under your arm all swollen. I mean, anywhere where it's going to show itself is because that is a genetically weak point. And if you get into iridology and find a good iridologist, I know you guys do it too, but find somebody who can help you focus on where you need to start, by your iridology readings. But I mean, don't fear it. Stop thinking when somebody tells you cancer, say, no, 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 no. You don't have cancer. Your body is acidic. That's all it is. And you're damaging cells. So how do you stop damaging cells? How do you stop what doctors call cancer? Stop feeding the body with things that are non-human species foods. Start feeding the body with fruit. That is going to be your way out of it. I mean, literally, you don't have to take drugs. You don't have to pay hundreds of thousands in doctor's fees. You don't have to do surgeries. You don't have to stress yourself and your family and friends and loved ones out. You just stop doing what you're doing. It's like stop, drop, and roll. Stop what you're doing, change what you're doing, and enter into the body what it needs to help rebuild the damaged cells that the acid caused. And now these people are having their kidneys removed. My son was telling me about their friend of theirs is in a hospital. Doctors removed his kidney. You removed a filtration organ. Now this person is left with one kidney filtering only one side of his body. Luckily, if it was even able to help with the other side. So now he's going to wind up getting lymphoma on that one side of his body. But nonetheless, again, I just want to make sure that people understand when you hear cancer, stop and tell yourself it just means damaged cells. That's it. You can simply repair that by not putting stuff into your body that is going to trip the body into creating hydrochloric acid. Now, you need little minor acids. I mean, estrogen is a minor acid. Testosterone is a minor acid, but they serve a function. The acids of a woman are what help her trick herself into her menstruation cycle. And acids also are helping the macrophage help to eliminate dead cells at the same time, and they consume them. But in essence, all you need, if you want, or if you're already suffering and you want to get out of it, you have to get serious about what you're putting in your body. Fruit, to clean the body, nourish the body, help the muscle. And if you really want to get strong, you're getting into the alfalfa sprouts and your cilantros and parsleys and things like that. But keep your greens and your fruits separate because they digest at different rates. You don't need to have that. Fruit in the morning, that's amazing. Fruit all day if you want to. But if you want to have something green, you can do that salad or green drinks or whatever you want in the midday and then get right back to fruit again in the evening time. Perfect scenario. I guarantee you'll amaze everybody with your healing. How about that?
I was like, okay, shall I let him talk until it's after the hour, or shall I say something? But you did a great job explaining this. What I do want to say is that we don't need to wait until we are diagnosed with cancer before taking action, because what it really is, and what we consider as being normal and just take an over-the-counter painkiller, the migraines, the headache, the lower back pains, the tennis elbow, or whatever problem in your body you have, it's all of it is an indication that your body is acidic. And I see it as we get the minor reminders that you have to change something, and that reminder is going to get bigger and bigger, and then you go from headaches or pain. Lower back pain is a big one. We know it's the kidneys, a weak area. But and even I mean, I had GI tract problem from the day that I was born. My sister, who last year died of cancer, bladder cancer, that is where it started, she had bladder issues since she was a child. So we know it's a weak area. And we have all these indications that something is wrong, and we accept it, one of the misconceptions, as being normal. And that is actually when we have to realize we need to take action now before it gets to a stage of what is considered cancer, because then you're really pretty acidic. And I had diabetes and rheumatoid or arthritis, I had psoriasis. So we know what it is, I mean, I did not even need to have the name mentioned to it. I went to a doctor like 17, 18 years ago. And I was told, okay, that is what it is. So now you know what you need to do. But we wait too long. We feel invincible. We can do anything and everything. I always considered myself super healthy until I was in my 50s. And that was actually when I had those immigration vaccinations, that it was getting like, and a lot of stress, a roller coaster. So now we talked only about food, but for healing, more than food, it's an awesome start. But I have already found, we're talking to people, if you do all the food, but you keep going to the doctor for your test, and CT scans is a favorite one of doctors, and all the dye, it's unbelievable about how acidic it is. It made me stop when I had a heart attack. So they put that dye in me. And that is 10 years ago, before I knew about Dr. Morse. I refused all the medication, had another heart attack 3 years later, did not go to the hospital. And within a week, I was fine. The time that I did go to the hospital, it took me a year to be at least normalized a little. Knowing that what you could do before, you can't do anymore because it messes up with your brain. But what I want to say is, when we talk about misconceptions, is that, a headache is normal. No, it's not. Migraine is not normal. Lower back pain is not normal. What is it? Muscle pain is not normal.
Warnings.
So it's all of it are indications that you have to do something. And you can mention the diabetes. I mean, that is a big one. And I do what I really would like to find out, how in the world came it that doctors are saying fruit is feeding cancer, or fruit is causing diabetes. I mean, where the heck did that come from? And I often say, if I have a client with diabetes and it's like, yeah, I cannot eat any fruit. And then it's like, okay, you have diabetes. How much fruit were you eating? Oh, I didn't eat any fruit. Maybe an apple once in a while. I don't eat fruit. And it's like, then what would your doctor say how you got diabetes if he tells you now you cannot eat fruit because of the diabetes? And I'm like, oh. So when we talk about misconceptions, that is an absolutely big one. Another big one is supplements. It's like, and one of the things I came across, and I sent you that article this morning, Tom, about one of the things is depletion of the soil. It's a big one. Yeah. And when you come to it, oh yeah, the soil is depleted, so now you have to add vitamins and minerals. I really think that those tests in research is done by that industry, which is as big as the pharmaceutical industry and is actually interwoven with the pharmaceutical industry. So you now get people, and I was one of them, that pop pills like 3 times a day, 45 pills easily. from all the multivitamins and the D3 and the B12 and
I lost you for a
there's
minute
a
there.
K2 and all the minerals and oh my God, I was spending $500 as a minimum every month. And I thought if I wouldn't do that, I would die. So when I learned from Dr. Morse and I was told like, no, you don't need that, I stopped it. And from the next day on, I never took any supplements after that, and nothing happened. I was actually feeling better. And that is because we now put all this, and it is a lot. I mean, 3 times a day, 15 pills, with your prebiotics and probiotics and God knows what else. And I wasn't feeling any better. I was feeling like shit. And I'm like, I don't know what is with me. I can't heal. And you get depressed and because you expect so much and it's not working and you get more depressed, but everybody tells you, it doesn't matter what doctor, or even not allopathic doctors, but the chiropractors, the naturopaths, they all make money out of from the supplements. It's a big industry. And when I become a health coach in 10 years ago, I didn't actually do anything with my studies back then because it wasn't making sense to me. And but even I was like, okay, that would be nice. I can't have my own label on all these supplements. That is a big thing. If my clients take that, that's extra income. But it didn't sit right with me.
Right.
So now I'm like, okay, Dr. Morse taught us it is isolated chemistry. If
Right.
you have a vitamin C, it has nothing to do with the sun rays, or I mean with the fruits. And if you have the vitamin D, it has nothing to do with the sun. And
Right.
it's all such, I see it as such unbelievable nonsense.
You see where the
And,
confusion comes from.
but it is such a big industry, and it is
Mhm.
being promoted by every naturopath.
Mhm.
And that is what Dr. Moore says. A real naturopath, they wouldn't give you that because it's made in a lab. It's not the full spectrum of the fruit that you think, yeah, but it comes from real fruit. Yeah, it comes from it. It's a part of it. It's not a real fruit. The body doesn't know what to do with it. And when you mentioned like digestion begins in the mouth, yeah, because if I smell something, a delicious fruit, you start already preparing. Your mouth is already preparing because that is why you have your smell. And
Yep.
and that is, the digestive system is already working before it's even in your mouth. Well, I can tell you that I don't have that when I have a piece of rotting meat in front of me. It's but it is. I think we can spend the whole day about all the misconceptions in the world, and what we have taught. So I go back what I said in the beginning. It is a lot of unlearning what we have to do, and that we have to simplify it. And what you mentioned, what a doctor says, and sometimes I get from clients long lists with everything that a doctor has said, and I'm like, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't even know what it is. Shouldn't it be simple? Shouldn't be, I mean, a dog knows what to eat. Yeah, we feed them junk food, so they die
Instinctive.
before their age, but
Yep.
and get sick. But if you look at all the animals in the wild, every animal knows what to eat. We are the only one that put a question mark there and just eat everything that is put in front of us and made taste good.
Yep.
So it is such an imbalance actually, and it can be so easy. And we go back to, is it easy to do? No, because you will have hunger. You will be hungry, in the beginning, but it's only a few days, then it's gone. And but do you want to mention anything? And Sara, I don't want to leave you out, so please jump in whenever you're ready. But Tom, do you want to say something about diabetes?
I mean, as far as the way I'm concerned, if you understand that fructose, monofructose, carbon, fruit, sugar does not need insulin as a carrier to enter the cell wall because the body identifies the fructose fructose sugar. So in essence, when it comes to diabetics, they can have 100% fruit and never trigger insulin. Now, depending on how long they've been on insulin, that's something that needs to be worked with their practitioner, whoever it is they're working with, hopefully somebody that's understanding, but a slow process of working them onto fruit and watch how they notice they don't need insulin as often as they did before, But again, fructose, carbon fruit sugar does not need insulin as a carrier to enter the cell wall. It's the same thing as a stranger comes to your house, knocks on the door, you don't recognize them, so you don't open the door. That is a compound, food. It goes and gets your sibling, brings them over, knocks on the door again, and you let it in because that is the insulin that's going to regulate the sugar in the blood. So you fooled your body with insulin to allow this compound, sugar to come inside, and then you feel like crap afterwards. So again, I don't care what doctors should understand this. Simple fructose sugar does not need insulin as a carrier to enter the cell wall. Now, what does that say? What does that say about fruit? So that if I eat fruit, I don't trigger insulin. That's the key. As soon as you eat something else, the body instantly triggers insulin because you ate a compound sugar, polysaccharide, bisugars, whatever starches. Even starches are compounded sugars. So now the body has to have insulin to regulate the blood or the sugar in the blood. Remove those false sugars, and now you have a body that doesn't even trigger insulin. It's like, bananas, and like squashes and things of that nature. Those are all low glycemic foods. Bananas are high glycemic, but it's not the same as, compounded sugars. So it enters the bloodstream nice and slow, goes for a while, and then exits the bloodstream, and you're ready for another meal kind of thing. But when it comes to that, again, fructose, fruit, carbon, sugar does not need insulin as a carrier to enter the cell wall. Please remember that.
Now, there is another aspect of it that you didn't mention, and that is the fats. And once we have fats in our diet, that is where diabetes comes in. And I found that out when I was still kind of addicted to avocados. And if I ate an avocado, the sugar readings were off. It's not working. And once you leave the fats out of your diet, I mean, you can, if you're diabetic type 2 and not on insulin, you can have it regulated within 2 weeks, even less than 2 weeks. If you are on insulin, it takes more time. But even a type 2 diabetic, it's crazy that they are on insulin. When I was in the hospital, that was actually a year after a heart attack, now 9 years ago, I broke the upper, the femur near the hip ball. So I had a pretty tough surgery, and they could not figure out what to feed me. And so they, because, being a diabetic, having a heart attack, okay, is he going on a diabetic diet, or is he going on a heart healthy diet? Well, they figured out that I needed to go on a diabetic part. You won't believe what they were feeding me. And I tried to fast and not to eat, and because I didn't want to eat it. And then I was like, can you give me at least an applesauce with no sugar in it? Oh, God, it was so bad. And I was so hungry that, well, we can give you insulin. And they insisted on giving me insulin. and my readings were like 150, 152, and it was like, well, when it's over 152, we have to give you insulin. It's like there was nothing about diet. That was actually when I thought, oh my gosh, I need to go into these hospital and change the diets, but that's not going to happen. You know, they won't let you. It's all regulated. It's on a federal level actually, what they are supposed to feed you. So, but it is pretty horrendous. And for any diabetic, you know, if you have issues or know of somebody has issues, get them on fruit and salads, but no fats, no fats in the dressing. And that is just the way to go. There's another one that I quickly want to address is immune diseases. When we talk about misconceptions,
Autoimmune?
immune diseases is a huge, huge one because it is the body attacks itself. And there, if you go into the list of immune diseases, actually arthritis is one of them, according to the allopathic industry, is the body attacks itself. That's not how we were designed. I mean,
Right.
yeah, we come genetically, we can come with all kinds of flaws, but suppose right now, you know, you are already a lifetime on fruits and salads, you're healthy, you have health, and you have children, and your children go on the same diet. I can assure you, those genetics disappear. You know, and you won't have the same issues as your parents or grandparents had. But even when you ask a doctor about, yeah, but where is it coming from? Oh, that is not known. You know, why do I have it? Well, that is not known. You have an autoimmune disease and your body attacks itself. I have to address that many, many times. There's no such thing. I mean, we were designed perfectly, but and I hate to say we messed it up, but once you know what the cause is, and then you know keep not responding to your knowledge and just keep eating what you do, well, then I can say, yeah, it's your own fault. Although I must say, and you sent me a picture of your breakfast this morning, and I was like, well, we're not going to close that. We're not going to talk about it because if you eat that kind of junk, but on the other hand, it's like once in a while, we just, you know, we just have to go for it, and it's like, and not feel guilty. And I love, there is a vegan restaurant. They have the most amazing sweet potato fries. They are so delicious. So yeah,
Way
once in a
better.
while I go eat that. But and then you don't feel guilty about it. And you always need to find a balance in your life and be happy.
Joy.
And you know, there has to be joy in your life. If your life sucks, then you don't heal. It's as
That's
simple as
true.
that, you know. It's you fight, then you just fight your body, and that can be with negative thoughts and oh my God, this is a long, long, long time ago. When I was in my early 20s, I had eaten the totally wrong diet. I was in a bad marriage. I walked away, stayed with my sister, and had alcohol, which I never had sugary things and pies and meat, which I didn't eat. And I got so sick, but not sick in a sense of nauseated or anything or headaches like that. No, I woke up paralyzed from the neck
Oh
down.
man.
And if that was not a big kick in the butt. But when I went to doctors and I told them, you know, this comes with the food. No, that's not it. There's no relation with food. Now we're talking about the 70s. There's no relation with food. And now slowly but surely they get more into that, yeah, you know, there is a connection and this food can do that. But still we have to fight all these misconceptions. So I would say to everyone who is listening, it's like, keep it simple. Just keep it simple. I mean, it is clear with food is designed for us, and when you hear about, you know, my hair is falling out, my teeth are getting bad, and it's like, I can, you know, we can do a whole show about that too, about the reason for that, but it is all that imbalance in your body.
Two
And
chemistries.
yeah, it is the chemistry. There
Mhm.
is another thing actually that I want to mention when what you started out with. It is about, with people saying that you need to alkaline your body. And I know there are people who think they can alkaline their body by drinking baking soda.
Yeah.
And I'm
It's an
like,
aid only. It's only an
okay.
aid. Don't make a habit of it. But
Yeah, and it's like, okay, that no, it would be better not, because that is not,
Mhm.
it's not a natural thing. And it is not about what you add to the body to heal, it's what you leave out to the body. And that
Uh,
is where,
sure.
fasting comes in. You have, I just,
Mhm.
someone with an insect bite or a spider bite, your best thing is just fast.
Yep.
And but we cause Sarah, are you still there?
Yep.
Please add something to our rambling.
It's fine. No, I'm just listening to you guys talk, so that's fine. I had questions earlier, but I forgot them already. So
I would. That would really help. Like I would love to have questions and whatnot. That's kind of it helps you
Yeah,
stick
but
to a topic.
you know what, Tom, you're like a roller coaster, so we could not
Mm.
get in.
I just, I mean, just for a second, when you were, getting to that back to the autoimmune, like getting to autoimmune, and people also need to understand that autoimmune is it by definition means doctors don't know what they're doing. So they classify it as the autoimmune miscellaneous box, is what because there's no such thing as autoimmune. It's simply chemistry. But when the doctor cannot figure out anything, they give it to autoimmune. That's definitely a pet peeve there as far as them just to have so much, everything, you realize everything we do, we're going to pay back, right? Our karmic, justice, we're going to pay it back. We'll be forgiven by things that we do, but you still have to pay it back, and these doctors that are doing this and they're hurting people and killing people, they will suffer lifetimes of paying back what they've done. There's no ignorance is not an excuse of the law when it comes to that. We're forgiven by our mistakes, but you still have to pay it back. That just when people realize that, I think the world will be a better place.
Yeah, we all know about karma, and
Hmm. Thank
sometimes
God for it.
sometimes you just wonder how do they get away with it.
But you can help
It
people with
is,
their karma. I mean, you really can. You can help people get through their karma, which alleviates some of your karma. It's kind of like this thing, back and forth.
yeah. I was thinking about my sister again. She had for 20 something years, she had an aneurysm in her brain. It was non-operable, and they just had to check, of course, put this dye in it in her brain and
Yeah.
see, get the CT scan, see how it was doing. I think the first twice a year, then once a year. And a few years ago, it was started growing, and the doctor, this neurologist, this world-renowned neurologist, her words, said, you won't make it till your 70s. At that time, she was 64, 65 in that era,
Yeah.
and you won't make it to 70. And that made me so angry. Because when you tell a person that and it sticks in their head, they won't. Well, she died at 68,
Yes.
but she died of cancer. And
Yeah.
even Dr. Morse has actually a nice video about it. So anyone who wants to look up things, go to rawfigs, RAWFIGS.com. It is
Oh
his
yeah, I've
older
heard of it. Yeah.
videos, but there is a ton and a ton of information in there. And when you
Yeah.
type in, best is using one word search. When you do that, you get all the times that he talked about that specific topic in a few minute videos. So it is an amazing source to find anything. And when he
okay.
was talking about,
Mhm.
the aneurysm and the brain aneurysm, how easily that can, heal. She didn't want to hear it. And it's like when she started with her bladder cancer, and then they took her bladder out, and a month later it was in her spine, and she was completely bedridden, couldn't move anymore, until she died. And that didn't even, well, it took too long, but she still did not want to hear it. It's so sad.
Well, I was gonna say because the whenever like when people get on the topic of metastasizing, you know, and they'll say, well, yeah, it does metastasize. That's the weird part is what they call cancer does not metastasize. You have systemic acidosis. It's all in your blood. So the acid is in your blood everywhere from head to toe, but it only shows out in the weakest genetic links. If it's the bladder, if it's the breast tissue, if it's under the armpit, wherever it is, that's where it's going to show itself like a weakest link. A 1,000,000-pound test pool chain that has one rusted link, that is going to be its weakest link, and it's not going to pull 1,000,000 pounds. It's going to snap. So whenever it's like my truck, when I work on my truck, I keep my truck up and going. But when I fix something, now it's going to the next weakest link. So what is now the next weakest link? Since I fixed the last weak link, now it goes to what is the next weakest one. You fix that and it goes to the next weakest one. It's always looking for the weakest link to break. So, things, when they say metastasize, please don't listen to that. It does not metastasize. Cancer does not grow. The environment of acid consumes more natural cells. Period. So your body is literally natural, healthy cells are being damaged and burned and destroyed by an environment that is not alive, but acidic. So I just want people to know that cancer doesn't spread like doctors say, oh, it's just growing, we got to stop it. It's growing. No, the acidic environment is getting lower and lower in pH, which is killing more and more, cells.
Yeah, and then we get to one, it's in the remission. It doesn't mean that anything is healed. It's all still there, but that's to touch another thing. It's in remission.
You can microwave somebody and put them in remission, but it doesn't fix them. You're right.
Yeah. And there are, this is a topic actually when we were thinking about it and coming across so many other things that are all related from, I want to mention those tomatoes. I sent you that article this morning, and it was, you cannot eat tomatoes because they are part of the nightshade plant. Well, there is a simple thing. The plant may be toxic, but doesn't mean that the fruit is toxic. I probably wouldn't eat the leaves of an apple tree or the leaves of my mango tree. I don't think it would feel good. But now we're talking about it's part of the nightshade family, so we cannot eat it. And I would say enjoy your tomatoes in organic, taste the best growing.
Raw. If they would just keep them raw, they'll be tomatoes.
Hey,
raw,
we don't cook.
amazing.
We don't cook, so they have to be raw anyway.
That's the thing. Is like, did you know that like Dr. Morse says, tomatoes will remove the aluminum out of your pan if you cook it. But as long as you don't cook it, amazing.
Yeah. But it is often when we have in our mind, in that article, they talked about the placebo effect. We have in our mind that it is bad for us, then it is bad for us.
Yeah.
Because that is how strong our mind is. So let it work the other way around, and don't even worry about, fruit from depleted soil. Yes, of course, we need to eat fruit, ripe fruit, but think about this. If you have a tree, I have a tree outside with mangoes. This year it gave me 13 mangoes, and they are amazing. Now, say that the soil was depleted. Do you even think that tree would be able to carry these sweet, juicy fruits?
Yep.
Of course not. Dr. Morse once mentioned, and I've only heard him mention it one time, the roots will go where they need to go to get the food they need.
Yep.
It's like, stop worrying. And another thing in misconceptions, list calories.
Yeah.
Oh, that you can spend the whole time on that. I already well, way back when I was young, I dismissed the whole idea about calories because it didn't make sense to me, and it still doesn't. And people are still, going about calories and counting the calories in a banana and in a pineapple. And oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I don't get
I
enough. I
know.
need to eat more. I saw a short
God didn't make a
video with
mistake.
yeah, with what a lady was eating, and she added potatoes to get to more calories so she could sustain the
Mm.
lifestyle.
Right.
Your body needs less and less because it's getting more efficient with what you take in. Because now you don't have
Right.
all that acidic food that it needs to digest and get rid of, and where all the energy goes. So it is all so simple.
I mean, that's my whole point of all this was to let people know I don't want you to stress when a doctor tells you, oh, you have this, you have that, a few months to live kind of stuff. Telling somebody that, you're killing them. You're killing them more so than what you say they have. So understanding what things are, to me, it's like it removed all the stress from me, because now when I hear it, somebody's talking to me and I instantly can tell what's going on just by, second nature of listening to a genius, I mean, Dr. Morse is master chemist, master herbalist, I mean, world-renowned detoxifier. And I just don't want people to sit here and they'll tell me, well, you need to listen to this doctor. You need to listen to this doctor. I'm thinking, no, trust me. I've gone through listening to a lot of them, and they just blow my intuition flag just starts going all over the place. It's like they had me for a second, and then they kept talking. It's like, oh my God, that is so dangerous to be able to give somebody false information because you can be responsible for what that person does. I mean, I'm
And
just telling you
just
the
look
way
at
God created us.
yeah, and just look at how many doctors there are. I mean, we see here in the area, it's like a whole town. It's all medical stuff. And there is going to be, they are adding more and more and more. And everybody seems to go there. When I tell them I'm not on medication, and at my age I should be on at least 20 a day, but I'm on zero. And not on
Amen.
supplements either. And I probably feel better than anybody around me well, I'm sure I feel better, who is taking all that stuff. We
I
have a
do.
question from Sebastian, and I want to go into that really quick. Why would
Awesome.
one have cramps while on detox? My experience and that of many other people, what I found is that it is often dehydration. And you may wonder, how can I have dehydration when I'm on all fruit? And I made that mistake. I used to have always cramps in my feet, and I still have about 11 bottles because I thought I have to use it for a lifetime. 11
Yeah.
bottles of magnesium oil that I would put on my legs before going to sleep, so I could at least sleep to most of the night. And
Right.
but I learned that, and that was actually when I was on only fruit. I forgot about the water, and it can still happen that I don't drink enough water. You would say, well, the real water we need is what is in the fruit. Well, if you're detoxing, believe me, you do need the water, and
That's a solvent. That's a
preferably,
nature solvent.
yeah, 2-3 liters as a minimum. Get it in, sip it throughout the day, and it will work, because usually when you dehydrate it, you get constipated, and you
Oh, yeah.
get those leg cramps. And if I don't drink water one day, that night I will have leg cramps, and it gets me out of bed 2-3 times a night. So that was something that you can look at. And that was for Sebastian, with a beautiful name,
Oh,
Sebastian
yeah.
Armando Rodriguez Roas. And I probably
It's
pronounced it wrong, but heck, I'm Dutch. What can I say?
the thing, again with cramps and things, you all, obviously hydration being the first, but imbalance of minerals, body flushing out a lot of stuff. But I mean, the big thing with people is being careful with supplements, because you got to be careful for the calcium, magnesium, and phosphorus. The calcium, magnesium sisters, little brother, phosphorus. If you take supplemental magnesium because you need to go to the bathroom, you need to help sleep, or one of these different things, you're gonna knock out calcium. Because God put the correct amount of everything in the food already in correct proportion. You start doing, calcium, and guess what you're going to do? You're going to knock out the other chemistry. You can't supplement things because they don't understand it's correct. It's correct. The formation it's supposed to be in, but you don't need supplements. Eating a lot of meat causes the body to need a lot of supplements because you're ripping away calcium from everything. And certain things you try to put back, but you put it back imbalanced. It just gets worse and worse and worse and worse and spirals out of control. But definitely.
I have an example. I talked about my broken femur. I broke it in midair when I twisted my leg. That is what that calcium magnesium did to my bones.
Did you have any parathyroid issues?
Oh yeah.
Parathyroid weakness?
Oh yeah.
That's definitely
I
connective
had
tissue.
thyroid issue, parathyroid. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, but it is a light because I didn't drink milk, which is a good thing. But
Yes.
then doctors always told me, you need the calcium. You need the calcium. So I was my whole life on calcium supplements. And at first it was calcium, and then I learned, you need to do calcium, magnesium, and then there are all these different forms of magnesium, and I used it
Oh
all.
yeah.
And
It's
actually not taking anything because I had 2 more falls after that broken bone, and I didn't break anything. So I just have to, I think that it got better with not taking all that stuff and being on
right.
fruit and just getting stronger. But yeah, definitely, I see with most of my clients a parathyroid issue.
Yep.
And thyroid. So it's our bodies are so messed up. But
You can see
hey,
it.
we,
You
we
can
we've
definitely
been
see it.
talking we've been talking for an hour and 30 minutes, longer than
Oh boy.
usual. I don't want to make it too long. We will talk again because there is always a lot to talk about, to teach, to learn. For me too, because I always keep learning and I love it.
Oh yeah.
And you explain things very well. So thank you for that. Thank you for being here, taking time for that. And thank you, friend, for that beautiful background. Gosh,
Oh,
it is like you're in a giant watermelon.
that's Lori Pope, the chef.
It is, it's really funny. It's yeah. And thanks again, Sarah, for being here. I'm sorry that you didn't really have any time to ask your questions. I want to thank everyone for listening in, being here with us. And oh my gosh, now I do have to get into that. Sebastian, I do drink 4 liters of distilled water. I did blood tests and have quite low calcium. I do not supplements. I do green juices. I understand this has to do with thyroid and adrenals. Yeah, and parathyroid. So you already do all the water, and you have the blood test and low calcium. I don't really go for a blood test at all, personally.
No.
Okay.
Send it to Dr. Morse.
Yeah, well, it can be a time thing. It will get better. It takes time. I mean, I've been on this path for 4 years. Am I healed? No. Have little things healed? Yes. Did I stick to the all fruit? No, not always. And there are more things. What you can do, Sebastian, that would actually be helpful for you. In the links in the show notes, I have, or the description, whatever you want to call it, I have a few links there, and one of them is a health questionnaire. When you fill that out in front of or all the questions, it shows you to which part of the body it is connected. And this gives you a better insight of what is going on in your body. And I would start there, and with the cramps, if that is ongoing, like, it doesn't change anything, I have to take some action and see what is going on. And you may need some what is it? Some extra herbal support. and we can figure that out. And it also has a link to how you can reach me, and you can set up a free call. In one of the links, it's actually easy. It's tonyweel.com, and it forwards to a system at heal.me, or you use heal.me/Toni Weel, TONIWEEL. So and go from there. You can figure it out. Okay, now I'm gonna really really close up.
Well, I'd like to say thank you, Tom, so much. I really hope you come back on, and next time I'll try to write down my questions, or at least just jump in when I feel
Thank
like
you,
it.
Sarah. Sounds good.
Thank you both so much. Much love to you all.
You as
Yeah,
well.
much love to you, Sarah. Thank you again for being here. Thanks again for everybody being here. And I would say till the next time.
Have
Bye-bye.
a good one. Bye.
Bye.